What is going on, everybody? Um, second Facebook Live podcast for me ever. Actually, I might have done it once before, real short with Jake, and then today we did a podcast with him, and that was fun. I did it sideways though, because I didn't know what the fuck I was doing, and people were telling me, but I wasn't reading the comments because if I know you're watching, then no, man, I can't do it. So this is gonna be one side. I just gotta forget that you're even there. And I'll also be putting this out on iTunes. It is fucking late. I should be, what I should be doing, what I would normally do right now is I would go into the infrared sauna. I swear by that thing. I usually use it morning and night, probably like 30 minutes. It's awesome because I could do my work, but man, that thing gets rid of so much inflammation. And dude, I'm old. I'm 44, and I'm rolling with guys that are like 15 years younger. One of my training partners is 350. So I'm drilling with him, and he goes hard, and he's an athlete, and so I'm feeling it. And we just got done with class. Tonight was class. Yeah, awesome day overall. And that's actually, when I got home tonight, I was thinking about, I was like, man, what a fucking awesome day it was. I really couldn't have been perfect, couldn't have been better. Very grateful for it. I was just talking to my wife about that. And it's strange too, man, because I was always so fucking negative. I was negative my whole life, just always angry. I don't know what age it started. I was looking at old photos recently for my parents' 50th wedding anniversary, for a slideshow I made, and I was like, okay, at what age did this little kid go from being happy to being fucking angry and just pissed off and doubting himself and not liking himself, and to the point where, I was suicidal most of my life. Like, not to where I would ever do it, but I definitely, like, I didn't want to live. But another thing I realized too from my writing is, man, I've always been obsessed with death. Like, death has been a big thing for me. I never thought I would live past 24. For whatever reason, that was the age I was giving myself. I was driving a motorcycle. I was being reckless with guns. And all kinds of other shit, and just drugs, alcohol, everything. I didn't give a shit about myself. That was part of the reason why I got into fighting. Not that other fighters do that, real fighters. That's just why, one of the reasons why I did it. I was just very reckless. But looking at my books, I was like, yeah, it's a lot of death. Bright side, that I was halfway through the story before I realized it was about suicide, or a lot of it. For me, the reason I had to write that story was about a friend's suicide, and I felt really guilty about, and that was just my way of dealing with that. Plus, there was quite a few other people died, and I don't know exactly how many. I think I probably have the number written down somewhere. In fact, if you're a fan and you've read these books and you want to figure out how many people I've killed, that would be awesome. I would love to know that number, but I'm not doing the work. I'm busy, and I really don't want to. But if someone else would do that for me, that'd be awesome. Oh, what else? Okay, so yeah, maybe there wasn't a whole lot of death on Brightside. Maybe that's not that obsessed. But then we had 25 perfect days plus 5 more, so it's 30. That's the bonus edition. I think I'm going to put it out in paperback soon. I just saw that KDP has their own new paperback thing, so I might give that a shot. But anyhow, yeah, 30 stories. I don't think there's any story in here that doesn't have death in it. But yeah, because that's always been on my mind. Twisted Reunion, death, 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 death. My daughter wanted to read a story. I was like, she's 8, but she reads more advanced stuff. Like, she's read all Harry Potter's, and now she's reading older stuff. But I was just reading through the list of all these stories, and just trying to think of, like, maybe there's something she could read that's not that bad, that's not that graphic, that's not. No, most of them they're not appropriate for 8-year-olds. But soon, in fact, the other day, I need to warn her again. We used to warn my niece Bailey. We used to always tell her, hey, when you're at our house, you do not pick up Uncle Mark's paperwork. You do not read Uncle Mark's paperwork. And I just saw Olivia reading Ain't No Messiah the other day. And there were some pretty pretty racy stuff on the page. I don't know how much she read, but so I need to have that talk with her. But the thing that kicked off this morning, after first we had breakfast for the kids. That's always fun, and take them to school. That's actually not bad either. So I enjoy that stuff, especially coming home after I drop them off. That's when I get to work. But the first thing I did today was, after I smoked, was worked on Try Not to Die. I'm pumped about this. I got something. A lot of other authors would probably look at me differently for doing it this way, but I've decided to really approach this series just going after working with friends. So I've lined up just this badass team of people that are going for it, and that are trying to write stories, that are going to write stories with me. And I've been so impressed with it, man. I gave each of them just like a rough idea of what I was looking for. And I'm totally changing the series too because of the people that I'm working with. And it used to be a young adult series, and some of the books that we're planning might be like my niece is going to write one, my nephew will write one, and theirs might take a while, and those will probably be toned down. The one I write with my daughter, a fantasy one, that will be toned down depending on when we write it. But these other ones, man, we're doing Try Not to Die up in the club, so that's going to have all kinds of sex, drugs, violence. Marshall Stamper is doing I always forget the name of the fucking city. I'm sorry, Marshall. Hopefully you're not watching. But his is going to be cool, about someplace in Thailand. Carl Dominy, I'm psyched about his. We don't know officially what it is, or exactly, we don't know how we're going to do it, but his story changed my idea. I always wanted to do these stories. I was thinking we should keep them in a 24-hour period if we can, or a real short amount of time. But with his, we might just take different instances in this person's life and just do it that way. The story I'm going to do with Anthony Johnson, my buddy, my training partner, his is going to be cool. It's going to be kind of Fight Club-ish. Just it's got a cool twist, and so we're changing the format. Tim Lasik, one of the guys that I fought, I started off Unlocking the Cage, talking about my fight with Tim. I took it on a couple hours' notice. Terrible shape. I had promised my girlfriend at the time I would not fight. I had promised my boxing coach that I would never fight in the cage again. But it was like for $200, and I wasn't doing shit, and it was on a Sunday, and so I went for it, and I got my ass kicked by Tim. But now Tim is going to be doing when I stayed with him up in Oakland and did his interview and saw just what an incredible guy he is, and just very intelligent, see what kind of friendships he has. But he also likes to write, and so he was definitely one of the guys I wanted, and so I'm pumped about his. He sent me his character development sheet, and just reading through what he had, I was like, this is awesome, man. I was like, this is going to be such a cool story. But with all these stories, and there's Steve Montgomery from American Top Team, one of my good friends. I stayed with him and got to interview him in Florida, but he's writing, and like, he's probably done the most in the shortest amount of time. Marshall has done a lot too. Sorry again, Marshall. But yeah, Steve's just kicking ass, man. He had a knee injury, he had to have surgery, and so he's just going for it. And his story's gonna be awesome too. So it's fun for me to just work with these people, and just my buddy Ken, who's just on the podcast, like the way we developed his, like he knew he wanted to do something, and then we just talked it through, and within an hour we're like, oh yeah, this is the story. And I was like, no, that's gonna be a badass story. You go do it, bring it to me, give me all your ideas. We'll make up some death scenes together, and then we got a bunch of books. So I'm pumped, man. Things are good, because of the kind of day. So that was just the start of the day. What happened after that? Oh no, and then I got some writing done. That was good, and I forced myself to do yoga. Usually in the mornings, man, I was like, I'm in my backyard, I start writing, I'm working on Ain't No Messiah, like that's going really well. I'm pumped about it. I'm going through all my old notes, so I just finalized the chapter today. But I made myself stop. I was like, no, I need to do yoga first. I was like, one, I should do it. I tell everyone it's awesome, which it is. But I stopped going to a studio because I had an injury in my wrist, and I was like, it's just easy for me to do it when I want to do it. but then sometimes I don't make the time for it, especially if it's like tonight. I have jiu-jitsu till 10, so it's hard to do it at night. But I was like, I'll at least do a little bit. And I was like, my body's all fucked up because the guy I'm rolling with is so much heavier than me. And going with Anthony, he's a big dude. He put on more weight, so I'm having a hard time with him. But don't let him know. Hopefully he's not watching this either. Fucking partner on the podcast doesn't even listen to it. Jesus Christ, no wonder we don't have any listeners. Fuck. But anyhow, so I realized that I needed to do it because my back was really tight. I was like, so if nothing else, I'll do that. And I decided to film it because I'm a narcissist, as you could tell. I was like, yeah, I fucking love the camera now. God damn it, I hate myself. This is not me. But no, I guess I am. I can't deny it. Fuck. I haven't gotten a convertible yet. I'm pretty happy about that. Now I'm all distracted picturing myself in a nice red convertible. No, not red. I know. I'd go with black. I still have that dark side. But anyhow, yoga. And I decided to film it because I was thinking to myself, I was like, you know what? Maybe I've had friends ask me like what kind of yoga I recommend. I always recommend the Ultimate Yogi because that's the set that I watched. Ken was talking about it. He got it. All his friends got it. It's really good. And because Anthony Johnson still hasn't been putting out videos, I was like, if he was putting out videos, I would follow his. But I figured I was like, you know what? I'll just put out what I'm doing today, and then some of my buddies might want to just watch it. I was like, and it'll help me see that, like, oh yeah, my form sucks there. I thought I was doing this right, or I thought this looked way better. My leg was actually high. I was like, nope. I thought my handstands looked good. I was like, nope. But that's cool. And I failed so many times today too while trying stuff. My goal was to, I'm trying to do crow to handstand. I was like, I should just really be working on crow first. Because I was like, but that's cool. I was like, to me, that's as cool as a submission. I was like, that's what I want to learn. So that was my goal today. But then I realized while I was doing this and I'm filming it, I'm like, oh man, I'm spending so much time in down dog and child's pose and up dog, and I was like, this is boring. I was like, but that's what I needed. I needed that. If I didn't do that for myself and just breathe, I was like, then it would have sucked. And I ended up having a good workout. But I failed. I tried jumping the crow a couple times. It wasn't even close. I tried doing some one-legged crow, like fly my crow, whatever it's called. Didn't work either. But I was like, that's cool. I was like, I have goals. I was like, that's one reason why I want to do it. I was like, but the thing I took from it was like, no, I needed this. My body needed this. If I didn't do it, I wouldn't be able to roll tonight. Like when I woke up, I was like, oh, I was like, I might not even roll tonight. I was like, my body hurts. I might have to tell George I just can't do it. But luckily I did the yoga. Everything felt good. And then I got my writing in. I picked up Jake. We did the podcast. That's something I changed when I was figuring out, I was rethinking my perfect day. I decided that I no longer wanted the babysitter to pick up my son from preschool. I was like, that's something I should be doing. He's not going straight to nap. Like, if that was the case, it wouldn't be a big deal. I was like, but this is time I could be spending with him. And ever since I did that, I think we've been a lot happier. Definitely getting more time with him. Sometimes it's hard because like, oh, I have an opportunity to write right now. I want to get my work done. I was like, no. I was like, he's definitely more important, and I'm enjoying it. And the more I just put work to the side and not worry about stuff, the cooler it is, man. Like today, when I told him that he was going to be on the podcast, at first he's like, no, I don't want to do it. I said, well, we were going to do it in a tent because we've been making tents every day. Because I remember, like, man, when I was a kid, just a blanket over a couple chairs or our table where our air conditioner was, like, that was so cool. And so now we do it under a big ass umbrella. And today was a medium sized one. Sometimes we go super big and make a huge cabana, but today was just a cool little thing. Yesterday's was just on 2 chairs, and that was different. I thought maybe we would take a nap, but that's not happening. But we read books. Today we read a little bit of my daughter Olivia's book, The Puzzle at the Preschool. When we first started that, we thought there was going to be a long series of them, but now she is she's advanced that. I think the book the next book I write with her definitely going to be way cooler than Puzzle at the Preschool. It'll be probably fantasy, and we'll kill a lot of people. But then what happened? There was other fun stuff. Well, I didn't play guitar. Usually that's at night. That's something I've definitely been enjoying doing. That I added that to my perfect day, and since I started playing, man, I'm surprised at how much I enjoy it. I'm surprised that I could even learn it. I always thought that was something I couldn't do. I was like, that's just something for someone else. I've never been good at music, and I'm not good now, but whenever I practice, I'm definitely getting better. And then I went to jiu-jitsu tonight where my wife trains. First, she takes my daughter. I was like, how cool is that my wife and daughter have that connection where they get to see each other train all the time. I was like, that's so cool. Then my wife did her class, the women only class, and she has a new partner that is really good. So that's pretty cool. And then we did Anthony's class, which starts with some pretty hard yoga, and which is an awesome way to start jiu-jitsu. I would tell everyone that it's what I need. Regular warm-ups don't do it. I would have to show up before class and do my own yoga, or whatever kind of movement, but something, just nothing static. And this is all the stuff that I wish I had done before. But and then we had a cool jiu-jitsu class. I learned some new stuff. Anthony totally he did the yoga, and then he taught the jiu-jitsu. So, and he was working on stuff that I don't do. And what was really cool was Jen improved one of the moves. She was able to she changed it somehow and just did it smoother than him. And he said that, and he made a big point about it, and he let her show it, and it was cool. So and that's her as a white belt. But yeah, so it's awesome to see how much knowledge she has. It's cool that I get to go train with her. Sometimes we roll. Usually I'm too sweaty. Today I was way too sweaty for her to even think about rolling with me. But no, and then Anthony caught me with a move that he never caught me with before. Maybe two. So that was cool for him. And then I caught him with a move that I never did before. And then I tried some stuff that surprised him because I'm an old man. But again, anything that's why our roles are cool. And George, the new guy that's been coming, man, it's amazing how quickly he is progressing. So we were saying, it's not long before he's going to be beating me like crazy. So it's a weird feeling. Like you always do it with your friends, but you're just giving someone else the knowledge to beat you. And but it's a cool thing. So anyhow, incredibly grateful for that day. One of the reasons why I'm such a happier person, why I no longer think about it in my life, or any of that, like I'm just happy, man. I was like, if I were to die now, I was like, yeah, I'm cool. I'm a happy man. I'm no longer worried about dying because I'm just going to continue doing this. I'm going to continue figuring out what I enjoy doing. Maybe it's not going to be jiu-jitsu. I hope it's jiu-jitsu. I hope I stay healthy. But I was like, this is something my wife and I can do for a very long time, all of our life. And then who knows? Maybe it's going to be guitar. Maybe it's going to be a different thing. Maybe it's just going to be playing fucking video games. Maybe it's reading. Maybe I'm going to probably be writing for the rest of my life. I was like, I got so many stories, and I could do Try Not to Die forever. And that's just so fun being able to create with friends. So if we just keep continuing to do what we enjoy, regardless of our age, and yoga, that's going to be in my life forever. That's going to help me do all these activities and play with the kids and all kinds of cool stuff. I don't know, man. I'm happy. So I'm no longer worried about death because I'm just going to keep doing that until I no longer can. I was like, I'm just going to keep enjoying life. So that's been my thing. And I think the reason that all happened, the reason for all these changes, like I'm looking at, the whole time I'm talking to you guys, I'm looking at this. This is probably why I'm smiling a lot. So I made these for my wife for Mother's Day. But yeah. So very, very fortunate. Life could have been completely fucking different. Wasn't always good. So they were a big part of the change. But honestly, like when I started all this, fuck, my battery's low. So we're gonna wrap this shit up pretty quick. Stop being so fucking sentimental and getting teary-eyed. Jesus Christ, can you believe this shit? I'm supposed to be a big tough guy. I still have a goatee though, and bald head. It's not my choice. Fuck. But I God damn it, I always get distracted. It's the pictures. So, oh no, it's Unlocking the Cage. So again, ooh, that's a plug coming out this summer, hopefully. Um, no, it was that process of doing Unlocking the Cage because it taught me so much about myself. Put me in a, I mean, I'm an introvert, forcing myself to go around the country to places like sometimes I haven't even called them. Thinking that they don't even want to talk to me. Like, who the fuck am I? I don't know anything about fighting. I'm trying to do classes. I'm getting my fucking ass kicked by everybody. It's I tell everyone all the time. I was like, I could probably, like, if there was a category, I'd probably be the most submitted man in America. I think I tried to do the math, but it was probably like 500 people at least in a year or two, from because not only was I trying to do classes with all the pros, so every pro, regardless of weight, is tapping me, but then their normal classes too at the places where I would train. Like, everybody in the regular classes that has any jiu-jitsu knowledge was beating me, and that's why I had been a blue belt, and I threw that shit away and I started over at white. When I started training 10th Planet, I was like, no, I'm a white belt. I threw that away. I wasn't going to convince Eddie anyhow. I was tired of it. But now I stayed with it, and I was like, man, I could be competitive with guys that are sometimes half my age. I was like, that's what I was telling my wife today when we came home. I was like, not only like I congratulate her on doing that move. I was like, that was dope. I was like, I've never done that shit. I was like, all we need to be happy with is that we're out there and that we're even doing it. And then, like, the fact that we could be kind of competitive, I was like, then, like, that's awesome too. So yeah, it's been good. So yeah, that jiu-jitsu has, yeah, definitely helped me so much. Yoga has helped me become way more peaceful. I think it helps me maintain kind of that peaceful, because I'm still an angry fuck lots of the times. Still have those same anger issues and all that stuff sprouts up. But yeah, man, that all helps. Fuck, there's one other important thing I was gonna pass on. Don't know what it was, but it probably wasn't that important. I know, so full of myself. Jesus Christ, thinking I'm passing on advice. No, but honestly, if I don't know, I think like, I know that sometimes I know some of my friends have started doing yoga because they see me as a big guy doing it. I was like, so if I could encourage that, I think some guys, maybe they're more at ease about being emotional with their kids. I was like, if I could be if I could show them that, I was like, then cool. So who knows? That's kind of why I do it. The other thing is to sell books. Buy my fucking books. No, actually, I don't care about that. But only the other people's Try Not to Dies co-authors, yeah, buy their books. My books, whatever. They'll always be there. I'm always gonna be writing. Yeah, I'm not gonna remember whatever that super important thing was. Probably the whole reason I decided to do this. But let's go out on a story. You guys aren't gonna be hearing on Facebook Live. I have to edit this shit after I edit Jake's. That's usually something I wouldn't be pumped about. It's usually why I don't shoot video. But whatever, I'm happy. Like, I have a good life. If I have to spend a little bit of time editing, oh well. But for everyone else on the podcast, on iTunes, and Stitcher and all those other places, I don't listen to podcasts, but so whatever. Over there, we'll end with a story from Twisted Reunion. We always play one. T. Quillen does a great job of narrating it. I started them all over because, man, we're on episode like 55 of Unlocking. Surprising. Or 56. And yeah, so we're repeating. Let's see. What kind of story do we feel like? I think we'll go with... You know what? I really enjoy Shades of Death. Yeah, we're talking about death. Haven't played that one in a while. But yeah, that came from... I don't know if that was a dream or if that was a drive. But I do know I was probably high. So let's say I wasn't a drive. Definitely wasn't a drive. But I was probably high. Yeah, man. It helps with creativity. Shouldn't be illegal. It's fucking ridiculous. It is. Do your research, and I think you will agree. But whatever. What do I know? Fucking author. God damn it. All right. Well, thank you guys for watching, listening, all that good stuff. I hope you all have a good night. Later.
Shades of Death. I wake, the concrete cold against my cheek. Everything's black. I can't see my hand even though my palm is touching the tip of my nose. I have no idea how I got here. I don't even know where here is. I'm indoors, that much I'm sure. I remember being at home, falling asleep on the couch. Somebody must have grabbed me. Maybe the feds. But I don't think so. This isn't a cell. I smell something cooking. Maybe chicken? Someone says something in Spanish. Julio must have found out I can't ever pay him back. Seems like my head would be sore from a knock on the head. Or I'd be groggy from being drugged, but I can think fine. I just can't see. I whisper, "Hello?" My voice bounces right back. There has to be a wall pretty close. I whisper again to the right and then straight up. Each time, the same echo. No wind, just my voice and the one in Spanish. It's a guy. He's laughing now. Or maybe he's screaming. And my eyes start to adjust. It's not completely dark. On the wall in front of me, there are the outlines of two large rectangles. It looks like someone carved through the wall with the thinnest laser, so just the hint of sunlight could tease me. I get to my knees. I'm not tied up. I stand and take a step to the left. The tiles cool against my fingers and a bit damp. I stick out my arm. I wave it back and forth as I inch towards the smaller rectangle. There's no sound other than my shuffling feet now. No laughter, no Spanish, just my hurried breath. I'm so close. I'm close enough to see the rectangle's a window with the drawn shade. The fabric's disgusting and sticky, and I imagine a web of a giant spider whose feet are silently scurrying across the ceiling. I know there aren't giant spiders that prey on people, but my mind prefers to think of eight-legged death than whatever is on the other side of the wall. As far as the explanation for how I got here, I'm guessing it's pretty bad. If it really is Julio, I'm fucked. I need to know where I am. So I tug and release the shade, and a bright fluorescent light from another room blinds me. I assumed I'd see a streetlight or some trees, somewhere to escape. It takes a moment for my eyes to adjust to the harsh light. The other room is larger. There's no furniture. There's just a naked Hispanic man cowering in the corner, his belly round and legs so spindly it looks like he might collapse. No sound carries through the window, so I can't hear his panicked yells as he waves his hand at the two snarling pit bulls in the corner of the room. The dogs bare their teeth, snap at the man. There's a speaker above them. The second I see it, the savage barking comes blaring into my ears. It's coming from behind me, another speaker in my room. I turn back to the window. The blue brindle drips bloody saliva onto the tiled floor next to a stringy piece of raw meat. The man moves in my direction, and I see where that morsel came from. He's missing a large chunk of his right thigh. The white bone glistens under a layer of shredded tendons and muscle. The man spots me. He's screaming in Spanish. The black pit leaps, clamps its jaws shut on the man's left hand. It tears through the index and middle fingers, gulps them down like a tasty treat. The man tries to run, pushes off with his injured leg, slips on the slick tiles, and hits the ground. The pit attacks, but the man kicks out with his good foot, nails the dog square on its nose. The other pit snaps at the man's mangled hand, but he draws it back just in time, punches the pit's massive head. Both dogs are stunned, and the man's back on his feet, hobbling toward me. He waves me away. His mouth's open, but I can no longer hear his screams. Someone's controlling the speakers. He's reaching to the left of the window, towards an outline of the larger rectangle. It has to be a door, but I don't feel a handle. Still, I brace myself against the rectangle. Sorry, but I can't let in the dogs. His contorted, sweating face is staring back at me. I can't look at him. On the back wall behind him are 2 windows, black shades drawn. In the middle of both, there's a door with a shiny silver knob. I point to it, but he doesn't seem to comprehend. The dogs are back after him. The black pit flies through the air, turns its enormous head to the side, chomps down on the man's right hamstring. The other latches on his arm, thrashes back and forth. The man keeps his eyes on mine, his jaw set and his brow furrowed as he drags the dogs toward the glass. The black pit loses its grip, then charges and bites down on the man's Achilles, snapping it in half. Somehow the guy keeps coming, bent over like an old man dragging a ball and chain. A chunk of meat tears free from his leg and he stumbles forward. His forehead slams into the middle of the window. I feel the faint vibration, but I still can't hear anything. His tortured face slides down the glass, leaving a trail of sweat and blood. He disappears below the window. The door shakes. I move back, put everything I've got into blocking it. Feeling like a coward, I yank down the shade and throw myself back into darkness. I slide down the door and scream, "Stop shaking!" I've never been so scared. I tell myself the dogs aren't getting through that window. I tell myself the man's suffering is over. I wait for a minute. 2. I'm sitting on a damp spot. Is it sweat? Piss? I slide my finger along the floor. I can't see. It doesn't smell like urine. I fucking hate dogs. I got bit when I was 3, and I still remember it like it was yesterday. I can't stay in here and wait for whatever this asshole is planning. Am I next? This isn't Julio doing this. He's fucked up, but not like this. I've got to get out of here. Why didn't I think to look around this room while it was lit? I could have planned something. Instead, I'm sitting here like a scared kid without a nightlight, not about to open that shade above my head. I'm not daring those dogs to attack. I get up, drag my hand along the wall. I hope I'll find a knob, a button, something. Finally, I find another shade. I don't believe in God, but I'm praying as I yank on the shade. The room's identical to the dog room. It has the same 2 windows at the back, each with the same black shade drawn and the same shiny doorknob. But this time there's an athletic 20-something lying on his stomach in the right corner. He's naked besides a silver necklace, his face buried behind the crook of his muscular arm. There aren't any dogs. I knock on the glass, hoping the guy can help. He doesn't stir. I back up and throw my weight against it. He still doesn't move, so I do so again, and something pops in my shoulder as I bounce off the window. He twitches. Come on, you big fucker, get up. The man moves his arm, uncovers his face. The entire left side flush against the floor. He opens his eyes and stares at me. I wave him over. Come on! With the side of his face still against the floor, the guy places both palms on the ground and pushes. It looks like he's doing some kind of push-up where he keeps his head close to the ground. His neck strains, and the skin on his cheek pulls. Half an inch. The skin continues to stretch. He jerks his head, and the skin tears, a large patch stuck to the floor, the rest dangling from the side of his face. As he gets to his feet and staggers over, I see his entire body is blistered, rivers of sweat running between the bubbles. The crucifix hanging from its silver chain glows bright over the man's chest. A crazed, deranged look fills his wide eyes. 2 more lurching steps and he falls to a knee. Patches of skin are missing from his forearm and thighs. Steam rises from his head. He says something I can't hear. I point to the wall. Try the door. He shakes his head. The crucifix burns brighter. The steam rising off his head thickens. My room is still cold and damp. Even the glass is cool. He keeps coming for me, waving me away from the window. His feet leave patches of flesh with each step. I spin away. The light from the furnace room illuminates the walls. There's the shiny knob. I can't see the door, only the knob. I grab it and twist it, but it only spins in my hand. It's hard to see in the shadows, but I can't make out any cracks in the walls, no sign of a door. I turn as the light dims. The blistered man's steaming silhouette fills most of the window, blocking out the fluorescent lights. I feel like an ass, but I wave him away and turn my back on him. He stays there for another second and then falls to his knees. The light in his room flickers out. My heart's racing. What the fuck's happening? Someone turned off those lights. When would my light go on? What's going to happen when it does? Maybe I'm just here to watch, but I'm pretty certain that I'm not just a witness. I keep feeling the wall, but there's no other door. There has to be an entrance here. I got in here somehow. Was it through the one with the dogs? I reach the corner and suddenly hear water. I keep moving. My foot splashes. I keep moving. The water hits my ankles. I keep moving. I'm back at the first window when the water reaches my shins. I drop to my hands and knees and feel along the tile. There's a current. It's coming from close by. I find the grate where the water's coming from. It's being pumped up from below. I place my ass over it, but it's not enough, not even with my palms helping to block. The water's at my chest now. I have to cover the vent. I strip off my shirt and wad it up and place it over the grate, but I still feel the water pulsing through. My pants are off next, even though I'm sure they're useless. I'm naked, and I think of the men in the other rooms. Were they forced to strip themselves just like me? The water's rising fast. It's at my neck. I have a minute or two before the room will be flooded. I paddle with my arms, push the water out of my way. The fuck do you want? I keep asking that, but there's no answer. I'll give you anything. Whatever you think I've done, I'll make it up to you, I swear. The water touches my chin, but I continue moving. The bright outline of a rectangle blinks to life in the middle of the back wall. It's the lower third shimmering under the water. I start swimming. I'm a few yards from the wall when I surface and take a deep breath. The water doesn't seem to be rising, but there's a hissing sound, and the pungent smell of chlorine sweeps over me. I write it off as chemically treated water. Take one more breath. The metallic taste of pepper and pineapple stings the back of my throat. My scalp and face start to burn. I lower my head close to the water, shut my eyes. My face no longer burns, but the back of my neck does. I've seen enough of the History Channel to know what chlorine gas can do. My feet can't touch the floor any longer. I just float. The water's stopped at the top of what looks like another window. I plunge my hand to pull the shade, but there's nothing there, only slick, unbreakable glass. I surface to breathe, and everything burns. Plunging deeper, I feel relief. The shade shoots up the other side of the glass, and a woman, someone I've never seen, stares at me. She's still clothed. It's just starting for her. I scream for her to help, and I point to the glass, tell her to get something to break it, but she backs away. My ears are ringing. I try to float to the surface, but the water's at the ceiling. I keep my eyes locked on the woman's. She only takes another step back from the window, and I don't blame her. Maybe I'm her first window. Maybe she'll find a way out.